So my husband and I refinanced our mortgage today because interest rates dropped and it was enough to save us 300 bucks a month. However, I have in my hands the amortization schedule, which is how long it's going to take us to pay off said mortgage and how much would go towards principal and interest each month. And I want to use this to talk to you about why home buying in America is an absolute fucking scam and why this will be the last house we ever buy in this country. So just really quick facts, it's a standard 30-year mortgage. It's a VA loan, so I didn't have to put anything down in order to refinance, and I don't have to pay any mortgage insurance, which is what normal people have to pay when they don't put 20% down. But because we didn't put anything down, I went from owing $784,000 on my home back up to $795,000. But my original interest rate on this house was 6.2%, and now it is 5.6%. We are planning on selling this house when my husband retires in 4 years and exiting the US. So of course, I was interested to see what will I owe at that time in 2030. And at that point in 2030, we will owe just under $750,000. So I will only have paid off $50,000 worth of my mortgage in the next 4 years. But the math ain't mathin' because my payment is $5,700 a month.
So what we see here, we see a woman that refinanced. The one thing you got to understand when you refinance, this is the biggest thing. Everything starts over. So people think that, oh, I'm saving money on my monthly payment, but you're starting everything over. So say, what if you were 10 years into your payments of your previous loan, and then now more of your money may start going towards your principal. But if you get a refi, now you start back over again. That's why it's the biggest scam ever. Buying homes is the biggest scam, especially when you do it as a mortgage. Buying a home cash, good. For yourself, do it. But if you have to get a loan, it's bad. Especially because what people say, well, Marcus, I get to be part of the equity. Houses ain't getting equity crazy anymore. We're at the top of everything. Okay. The only way you can get equity on a house is if the housing market crashes and you get everything so cheap. Only people that's winning in the housing market are boomers. So when they sell their houses for millions of dollars, when they got it for 50 grand, they're winning. That's not happening for us. But when people fall into this trap of, oh, my payment's going down for my refi, but you actually end up paying more because you're starting over that amortization schedule. Meaning, if you were in year 8, you're going back to year 0. So, oh, I got a little bit of cash. It doesn't matter. You're starting over. This is why you have to understand. That's why I keep telling people, don't break the bank and try to get a house. Rent. You'll save more money renting. So there's a lot of people that we see are house poor. Okay. So you're working for your house. You can't even enjoy it. But what happens if you got to get a $30,000 roof fix and you can't afford it? So now you're going to get another loan. Right. And then you're going to get another loan. So now you're in a debt track. Now you're digging yourself into a hole. People always say, well, renting this and that. The one thing I can say about renting is you ain't got to worry about the maintenance. And it's a constant payment. Okay. When you're buying a house and you're using a mortgage to buy the house, you don't own that house. Okay. So people want to tell me, well, oh, Marcus, I own it. No, you don't. The bank does. If you stop making the payment, they'll take your house. Same thing with rental, right? If you stop making a payment on the rental, they'll kick you out. So also too, in California, you can live a little longer not paying your rent, but that's a different story. But I'm telling you, you don't own your house unless you have the deed. Okay. So you're going to go through all this stuff, pay all this interest on a house that you probably might own in 30 years. But usually the average they say is that people move through their houses is 7 to 8 years. So all you're doing is paying interest. All you're doing is paying rent. You think you're a part of it, of the equity, but what if you sell your house and you had all these things that you had to repair? See, people think about, oh, well, I bought it for 50 and I sold it for 100. My equity is $50,000. No, you bought it for 50, but you invested 30, and then you had to pay for 5 over here and 5 over here, so you evened out. Only person that wins when you buy a house through a mortgage is the banks. That's the reason why they try to push home buying, because they're going to win. The first 10 years of your payment, mostly of your payment is going to interest, but people don't want to talk about that. Your money's not going to your principal until after, I want to say year 11, year 12. Now you can get more and more going towards your principal. But think about it. Why would they have it front loaded where they make majority of their money in the front? because they know you're gonna move within 7 to 8 years every time. It's very rare for people to buy a house and stay there for 30 years. So they know that. They teach you with that, oh, we're gonna keep you for 30 years. You'll be here for 30 years, you'll own it. That's very unlikely because you're gonna move. You're gonna leave, you're gonna retire, kids may leave, you may go somewhere else. Kids want to go to this school and do this. You're gonna move. So all you're doing is paying a new landlord, which is the bank. That's the thing you have to understand with home buying. It's a scam. In America, it's a scam. If you can't own a home cash, then you can't have it. You shouldn't buy it. You should rent. Because if you're struggling to pay that mortgage, and then you got maintenance, you got all these things, taxes. Now you have the government, depending on what city and state you live in, they can play around with your taxes, your property taxes to move them up. It's too much of a liability. Well, you can rent and it stays the same. You know your cost. And then it may go up during the renewal. That's a conversation, but it's not playing with your money during the term of your rental. So that's the thing you got to understand. And she's looking this up, and I appreciate this video.
$5,700 a month times 50 payments is $285,000. And if you look at the schedule, it tells you, oh yeah, you're financing $795,000. But if you kept this interest rate over 30 years, you're actually going to end up paying $1.6 million.
Exactly.
But the biggest scam of all is how much interest they charge you the first year you own the house. And I have other videos on this. I've talked about it. Again, I put myself in this situation. It is what it is. The point is I'm calling out the banks because they are fucking ridiculous. First of all, when you come to closing, we bought $7,000 to closing. They make you pay $3,500 in upfront interest. So not only are your first 12 payments horrendously just put towards interest, but then you have to bring extra money to closing just to pay interest upfront. Now I will say this, our principal and interest amount is $4,500, and it's our taxes that are additional $1,000, which is how we get to that $5,700 number. Our first payment is 11/1 coming up, right? $4,500 payment, only $849 of that goes to principal. And every month after that, only $4 extra of your payments goes towards principal. My very first payment, $4,500 payment, $3,700 of that goes to interest. So even though over the next 12 months, I'm going to make roughly $54,000 in principal and interest payments, not including taxes, according to the amortization schedule, I won't even have paid down the mortgage a total of $10,000. And not for nothing. Again, remember, I was down to about $784,000 before I decided to refinance to save money. But 12 months from now, I'm going to owe the exact same amount of money on this house as I did yesterday before I refinanced. And so that just goes to say that refinancing is also a scam.
Refinance is the biggest scam ever because you don't understand. You're starting it over. See, people look at the instant, oh, I saving $300, or maybe I get some cash. You're going to end up paying more than that back in loans. You're just spreading out that debt over the time. There's a reason why these banks contact you and ask you if you want to refi. They want to ask you to refi because that's how they make money. Now I can start over your amortization schedule, and now I can get all that interest in the first 10 years. The first 10 years of a bank loan is money for the banks. Like she said, she paid it off all that time, and she only paid off $10,000. That's how the banks make money, and that's the reason why they front load it. They don't put that on the back end. No, they put that on the front because they know typically that Americans are moving between every 7 to 8 years. So reset, reset, reset. That's why I say rent. I say rent or people go, oh, no. Or you could own a building where the tenants are paying for your rent, but you have to own a substantial size building, right? What we get caught up in is what you want, what space you want. You get caught up in that. But the thing is, though, look at your pockets, okay? I would say rent or live in a situation where you have a lot of tenants and they're paying your mortgage completely and it's not coming out of your pocket. But where do we fall into? I want my own house, right? Everybody does it, right? Everybody has a mortgage. I'm just talking about because as a person of knowledge, and if you're thinking about buying a house, everybody wants to buy a house because why? You want your own. And that's how you can that's how they know you want your own. So we're going to push home buying, own a home. but you're not understanding the fees that it costs to sell your house, to buy your house, the taxes, right? The maintenance. These are things that you have to make sure that you have. Oh, low down payment loans. You got to watch out for that because all that means is more fees on the back end, mortgage insurance. These are all these things that you have to understand. Maybe I'll talk about this in my Patreon. I'll probably talk about this, just the process of home buying and what you need to know. But this is why you got to understand, to be honest, if you can't buy a house in cash, then you should rent. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. As always, going to keep this thing rocking, keep it going. Hit the notification bell to see new videos. Also, check me out on the No Filter Morning Show Monday through Friday, 10:21 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Let me know. Hit me up. I appreciate you guys, and I'm out.